by allowing him to go, but by not allowing the kind of publicity perhaps that the Tibetan groups would have wanted over there. Mr. Ram, if I could ask you, you certainly do feel that Dalai Lama should not have been allowed to go to Tawang at this time. But then let's just look in the last few months. China has not just objected to his visit to Tawang. They've made statements about President Pratibha Patil going there. They've made statements about Prime Minister Manmohan Singh going over there. Wasn't it time to maybe stand up in a sense? That seems to be those newspapers you were quoting from, that seems to be what they're asking for.
You see, Suhashini, these are formal territorial claims both sides make. And I want to recall the interview done, I think it was on CNN-IBN in 2008, where then Army Chief General Kapoor made it clear that their so-called incursions are up to their perception. And we have also done it and so on. So absolutely no incidents on the border. But both sides reiterate their formal territorial claims until such time as the boundary question can be solved, and that's not going to happen in the near future, or even the intermediate future, perhaps.
But Mr. Ram, the perception would have been
just a formal reiteration.
No, but Mr. Ram, the perception would have been had the Dalai Lama not deferred his visit, that India had succumbed to Chinese pressure. Now, somewhere India needs to send out a tough message to Beijing, surely, that as Raghavan says, that Arunachal is very much a part of this country, that the Dalai Lama, by going to Arunachal, is at one level reinforcing India's claim to the fact that Arunachal is not a disputed area.
Of course, it is under dispute, some parts of it at least. Tawang certainly is at the core of it. But largely, if you look at this heading, is this planted by the Chinese government? Dalai Lama slams China. Look at the Times of India. Dalai Lama attacks China, hard line on Tibet. So you are in violation, or an apparent violation, of a solemn commitment you've made. And what's this business of allowing the so-called Tibetan government in exile in Dharamsala? Doesn't that flout the agreements? I don't think the Chinese have overreacted. I think the Chinese were not wise in protesting against Manmohan Singh's visit. I think that was right. That was unwise and counterproductive. But if Indian journalists, Indian citizens can be prevented from visiting Tawang, surely the Dalai Lama could have been, quote, persuaded not to go there. At least not make these statements.
All right, very quickly, Sonam Dogil.
Statements are indefensible.
Very quickly, Sonam Dogil, Indian journalists have been allowed, but their inner line permits to Arunachal Pradesh were kept very short. Foreign journalists, about 36 to 40 of them, were not even allowed to go cover the Dalai Lama's visit to the Tawang monasteries. Are you disappointed with the Indian government stand?
No, it's a matter of policy of government of India, because this time visit has been made because this time India has stand clear on its position, because this is assurance that India is claiming on the part where part of territory where it is legally they own.
Final word, Srinath, from you. You've heard the objections from NRAM. You've heard where the Tibetans stand. Do you believe that this visit in retrospect has been a positive one, or will it set back India-China relations?
Well, I don't see that in the long run it's going to be such a great setback to Sino-Indian relations, because the Chinese have been protesting about the Dalai Lama's visit to different areas, and I think the Indian government has responded to Chinese statements with a combination of tact, restraint and firmness, which seems to me just about right.